Here we go, New School Sensei. We're here at the AET HQ. I'm your host, Lance Douglas. We got Ken, Capitan, second chance on the second chance already today.
Hey.
And now we also got Daniel Bacon. So believe it or not, he's actually a chef. So great last name to be a chef.
Yeah.
And more importantly, he is a martial art coach at Guest Martial Arts. So over 15 years experience, purple belt in BJ as well. So I think it was a third or fourth dan in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu?
Yep, I just got my 4th degree.
Congratulations, that's sick. And he's in today, so we're going to be talking about teaching kids how to use weaponry. I know for me personally, this is something that I kind of dread when it comes up on our curriculum. In particular, we teach more kind of short sticks and nunchucks. And the biggest concerns I have with teaching kids is they're going to hurt me as a coach. That's always my first concern. Number 2, hurt each other, so just whack each other by accident. Go home, hurt the mum, dad, dog, cat. And then a lot of parents, they're always coming up to me and saying, damaging their home. Walls, ceilings, light fixtures. Daniel, talk us through, how do you teach weaponry to kids?
Okay, so first of all, I start with a control-based thing. So we have, I guess, martial arts, a thing called self-control. But then with weapons, we call it weapon control. So self-control is controlling themselves, and weapon control is controlling outside of themselves. So weapon, a school bag, pair of scissors, even a book, iPad, not swinging stuff around. And that's where I start first. So for example, I'll start with some stances, and then we start looking at walking with those stances without swinging the stick around. Now, of course, they're kids, they're going to swing, they're going to kind of want to play around, they want to do everything, they want to be cool ninja, but at the same time we need to show that weapons are dangerous and they need that external control. So that's the first thing is about controlling outside of themselves.
So essentially, is that just like you would just get the kids to walk in straight lines or around?
Straight lines first, forwards and backwards.
Yep.
And then that way they can, if they're walking backwards, they're just like, walking backwards, and then they've got to constantly keep looking behind them while having control of that weapon to see, is there a wall behind me? Is there a person behind me? Yeah, so perfect example yesterday. I had a class yesterday. Kid was walking with a weapon, doing really good control, and then all of a sudden walked into a cabinet and then hurt his heel, but still continued to control that weapon. You know what I mean? So yes, he hurt his foot, or like just bumped his foot, but at the same time had a lot of control over that weapon. So I see that as a step forward, you know what I mean? And then we can move on to the next drill.
So like there's probably some coaches thinking, if I get a kid to just walk around with a weapon, they're going to start swinging it. What are the sort of incentives for the kid to not be swinging that weapon around?
So again, I keep the kids closer together rather than further away from each other.
Reverse of what we do, yeah, Lance?
So the more they keep closer, the more likely they are, because I'll be like, all right, watch out for the person next to you, watch out for the person behind you, and then they're going, oh yeah, well, now I really need to keep this controlled. And that pays dividends later on when it comes to controlling the weapon, walking onto the mat, walking off the mat. They're not running with it, they're not swinging it around.
Just general safety, yeah?
Yeah, so it's always about safety first, because weapons are quite dangerous.
100%. So what's the second thing? We've started with control.
Yep, and then I look at, after that, the control, and once they've done that in a range of different stances, the walking, then I look at using the weapon as distance. So trying to use it, so by stances, keeping them, like swinging them, but as controlled. That one I do separate a little bit because of the long stick or the shorter stick, but then we have, if they're doing a good job doing it to the air, then I'll let them hit the bags, so the punching bags and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You actually get them to strike the bags?
Yep.
There's no risk of the sticks or the weapons breaking, or the bags are good?
We use rattan, and then it's more of the distance. Keep far away.
Yeah.
So we use it as a distance tool.
So instead of them hitting each other or hitting a partner stick, it's safe to hit the bag.
Yeah. So I'll still do like partner drills, so distance, but again, super slow, because especially like between 5 to 8 year olds, even some 9-year-olds, they will be like, I'm going to hit really hard. And then you've got to be like, all right, let's get this back down and use that control level. Boom. All right, stand there with your weapon. Boom. Any stance, and take it from there.
Wow. And then is there anything else you do as your third sort of thing?
Yes. So the third one is I will let them strike with me with my weapons.
Yep.
And then, so I'll go back, forward. So I will step forward or I will step back. And then they've got to use that calculation for them to step forward and step back. So
Is that instead of them working with each other, they work with you first to get the trust?
absolutely.
You got
also,
systematic. I like it. Very
it's
systematic.
it's also a trust issue. So if I can trust them and they can trust me, they're going to find that it's going to be easier to trust someone else. You know what I mean? So especially if someone's being silly in the class, they're going to be like, well, I don't really want to do that. Or they're going to want to do it and everyone's going to be like, too scared to do the thing, right? Whereas if we're having more fun and I'm like, all right, let's whack. All right, let's see if you can touch my foot. But then you step out of the way. Oh, you couldn't touch my foot. Then there's a little bit of a back and forward. All right, I'm going to touch your foot. All right, no, you're not. So, and then we turn into a little bit of a game, but slow.
That's cool. And then I've heard of some clubs for extra safety, they get the kids to wear mouth guards. Do you guys do that?
No,
or
we don't use mouth guards because we're not going super hard. And
I guess you've already done the steps at the start.
yeah, and every time that there's a new kid that steps in, new person to our class, the Black Belt Club, for the weapons, we do the control thing again. So it's not like they do it once and that's it. It's constantly adjusting that weapon control.
That's awesome. And is this system, it doesn't matter on the weapon, like you do it for your short sticks, you do it for your nunchucks, you do a similar sort of system?
Yep. Again, I do it with our junior adults, our teenagers, so they've got to show control as well, because they're sitting there and then they're standing and they're bashing, they're really not paying attention. So it also helps them to control, to listen to the instructors about what they need to do rather than just half asleep, not focusing. So it's that focus. And then if they're not using that self-control, so the whole thing, well, that weapon control can be easily brought back to listening to the instructor or any instructor that's there. So I could be on the other side of the room and say, all right, guys, weapon control. And they'll be like,
okay, cool.
so
it's like a focus anchor.
It's like a certain cue to get everyone's attentions back to the instructor. And it's just 2 words, weapon control.
That's super awesome, because like the way we do it at Twins, we usually do weapons as like an end game, so we're only 5-6 minutes.
Yep.
So it's quite brief, and we just try and make it as fun as possible. But it sounds like you can do full classes.
Yep.
And it's still super fun.
Yeah, we could. And the way I think about this is if you make it so much like a game, they're going to treat it as a game and they're going to overextend and over-push the bounds of what they're going to do. Padded weapons, that's kind of fun. You can do that. But again, still kids get hurt and, tears will happen. Whereas when we're teaching the weapons, we don't use padded weapons. They use rattan or wood weapons, especially for the kids, because it's really important to learn that it's dangerous.
It's like the reverse, isn't it, Lance? Yeah.
100%, yeah, because normally we do all padded weapons and all games-based.
Mm-hmm.
So with short stick, we'll just get like some pool noodles and we'll do like a fencing game.
Yeah.
So first of 3 hits wins.
So we play games like that in our class, but the instructors will use the padded weapons and then we'll and go crazy. But they've also added they see us use the weapon control. So we're not just walking around just, we're there controlling our weapons. And then when it comes to the games, that's when we do it. And then when it comes to the classes, that's what they have to understand first. That weapon control is a must, and that relates to taking the weapons home when you talk about broken light fixtures.
Yeah, talk us through. So what are you saying to the kids to make sure parents aren't coming after class
Yeah.
and trying to give you the bill? Okay, we need a new wall put in,
Get some
new
plastering
light
done.
fixture plastering.
I'm gonna shout out to one of the instructors, James, that I think he always says to the kids. So when the kids get their weapons for their Black Belt Club, he goes to the kids. All right, kids. This is your weapons, your responsibility. Do we use them at home? Yes. Do we use it on the cats and dogs? When do we use the weapons? Under supervision, mum and dad only, or at class. But you have to look after them. They're not toys, they're weapons. So they've got to understand that they're dangerous and things can break. So right from the get-go, you letting them know that it can be dangerous and we don't want to start swinging them around at home. And I do the same with my son. My son does it as well. He's got his own weapons kit. and his weapons kit is in his room, and he needs to make sure he looks after him, and he doesn't swing him around, doesn't do anything. He'll come out, use his weapon control when he can, when he wants, and take it from there.
I like it. Do you want to talk about like weapons in terms of like licensing and how the rules and stuff for us in Victoria? Yeah, because the stuff that we're using, we don't need licenses for. It's just a piece of wood. Mm-hmm. It's a fake nunchuck essentially. Yeah. Yep. Well, at least ones, I don't know what you guys are using, but we got a nunchuck that's got what's a bit of like a PVC pipe with some like foam around it.
It's classified as a toy essentially.
So the prohibited weapons license here in Victoria is basically any real weapon. So anything that's steel or stuff like that is illegal. You actually need a weapons license for it. Everything that we use is all wood-based and stuff like that. We do have people that do have prohibited weapons licenses, and then we bring them in to show what the real weapons look like.
Okay, that's
we
cool.
don't actually use them, though. Because A, it's dangerous, and B, using them against people or showing them, it's practically dangerous. But to show them what it is, it's a cool thing. So we have a really strange weapon. We don't teach this one to the kid. It's called a kasari fundo, which is like a nunchuck. So it's really long chain, about a long arm's length of chain with two weights on the end.
Interesting.
And it is really, really dangerous. And it's like it's like really, really, really prohibited. So it's really dangerous. But at the same time, we just use a piece of rope with knots on the end to train for the adult.
Yep.
But people have got them, and we show them what it looks like, and we say, so if we do our swinging, and then we go, all right, let's do the real one. Everyone's like, whoa, and we're like, that's why we don't use the real one. Swords, obviously, super prohibited. You can get collector's licenses though. That's a way to get around the prohibited weapons license, like a collector's license. But if you're caught carrying them or transporting them, you get in a lot of trouble for it.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
So, but you don't really need real weapons if you've got the wooden ones. Wooden ones work just as well. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like we teach 8 weapons in our style.
Respect.
3 different sticks, 3 different swords, 2 swords and a knife, and then flexibles, stuff like a jumper and stuff like that.
3 different sticks. What sort of sticks?
So we've got a 6-foot stick,
yep,
4-foot stick,
yep,
and 3-foot bow, joe, and harm bow.
Super cool. Yeah. I like that. So just say if you've got a martial arts coach out there and they want to introduce like a weapon syllabus or even just start playing around from the stuff, what sort of tips would you give them? Like you've essentially spoken about your framework at the start, but is it a case of you actually have to go train in a weapon style, or is there resources we can go online? There's like a BJ Fanatics, but Weapons Fanatics or something?
Actually, that's a great question. So number one, you've got to find that weapons suit your style.
Yeah.
Right? So, and how is that weapon going to integrate to your style? That's number one. Because if you go and you say you do, I don't know, capoeira, right? And then you try and add in like a bow staff to that. Doesn't really quite fit, does it?
All right, good work. You got a lot of good twirls, like a bit of that ginga going.
But again, like when you're doing your flips and you're putting your hands on the ground, you don't have control over your weapon.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So there's got to be that control element there. But there is great resources out there. So there's a great resource such as, I don't know if you've heard of the Grappler's Guide.
Yeah.
Right, they have a weapons guide.
Jason Scully.
Yeah, they have a weapons guide. So it's only small.
Is that through the same guy?
Yep.
Wow.
So he got a whole bunch of weapons guys to do stuff.
Wow.
So there's a knife on there. There's some Joe stick, some Carly, some HEMA stuff. So yeah. But again, if you really want to add weapons, go to a weapons specialist. You know what I mean?
And learn.
And then if you want to add it to your school, then you take what fits for you and then put it in that way.
Yep.
So that was my primary focus when I started martial arts, was weapons. It had to have weapons.
I like it.
Yeah, because I got held up with a knife a couple of times. And so it had to have weapons, number one.
Best defense to run.
That's exactly right. And then sometimes you can't run.
100%.
It's good. Let's wrap it up there.
Yep.
So awesome, Dan. We'll take on all those tips. Hopefully everyone watching enjoys it. Hit us up on the New School Sensei Instagram. If you got any questions, anything you want, let us know. Check out our YouTube as well. So if you could subscribe, like, do all those things, we'll love it. We're going to get Dan on again, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Oos.